LCQ. We'll be here for a few days, and then we have to switch to a. I guess Riot told us that we can't boot camp from here. Like we can't stay here the entire time. They want us in some hotel that they're putting us at. So yeah, no, we'll be here for a few days, and then we got to switch over to the whatever place we're gonna be practicing from. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I'm kind of out of the loop on a lot of the things, and I feel like the communication. Riot's kind of dropped the ball a few times now, but hopefully for next year it'll be better. Starting with like the bracket, then the Australian teams getting kind of screwed over. Yeah, they kind of messed up this time, but what can you do? What can you do? All good. Tommy, thank you for the Twitch Prime, the 11 years, almost a year. Poggers. Thanks, dude. That's 11 years though. I don't know what you're talking about. I tweeted that like about the Australian teams, and people are like, "What happened to the Australians?" You guys know? Do you want me to? I don't really know what to believe because one of the Australian managers or coaches tweeted something, and then I don't think Riot ever like confirmed or denied it, so it must be true. I don't know though. Did they change the format? Yes, they did. What ended up happening is I'll just say it. So what ended up happening is apparently the Australian teams that were supposed to come here. So initially the bracket was a 10-team tournament. 2 teams had buys, the top 2 teams, and then everybody else had a first round bracket. The first 2 rounds of the bracket were single elimination. So there is a possibility that 4 teams in total, 4 out of 10 teams would lose after playing one best of 3, right? Because the first 2, maybe even more. I guess it depends on how many matches there were, but basically the first match and then the second match, so like the first stage of the bracket and the second stage of the bracket, were both single elimination. So you had to win 2 games before we became double elim. So there is a world where like the Australian teams, I don't think either of the Australian teams had a bye, but there's a world where they would have to fly here, quarantine. That flight from Australia to NA is not short. And then play 1 match, lose, go home, quarantine again, and it would have been kind of crazy to fly here for 1 best of 3. But basically, yeah. What ended up happening is both of the Australian teams. So Riot said one thing, and then the Australian team said another thing. Basically, Riot was like, "Oh, it was due to unforeseen circumstances, and a complication due to COVID." And then one of the Australian like coaches or something came out and said it was like negligence on Riot's end, and they didn't do a good job of like securing travel and stuff in time. Like they took too long, and it was like impossible to get it done. It might have just been because they had to wait till after Masters in Germany to figure out who's going to go before they even consider booking flights. But yeah, so both of the Australian teams ended up having problems with their flights and getting here. So both Australian teams are not coming anymore. So they changed from a 10-team bracket to now it's only 8 teams. All 8 teams are American, and it's best of 3 from the start, I believe. I'm pretty sure. I don't really know, but yeah. I think they said that. I know, I'm pretty sure they showed the bracket too now. So we initially had a first round bye, but we don't have that anymore. I don't even know if that's been publicized, but it is now. Doso Sins with the tier 1, the 5 years. Scavlich with the Twitch Prime, the 2 years. Cool guy, thank you for the gifty to the Cleopatra. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sure it's like like I said, I don't know if it's like, I'm sure it's a bit of both. Like Riot could have done it better, and they could have got the flights earlier and figured it out earlier. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, a lot of different countries have a lot of different. It's harder and easier depending on where you live to get visas, to even travel in general. So I'm sure Riot probably could have done a better job, but at the same time, like, I'm sure it was just hard in general. So I don't think we can I don't know if it's fully Riot is to blame, or if it's also like COVID,
Match
the government,
found.
a bunch of stuff.